Hey everyone. So we live in this world where, let's be honest, almost everything gets shared online, right? From our breakfast to our biggest life news. But have you ever stopped and wondered about the people who don't? The ones who are definitely there, watching, but almost never post? Well, today we're going to dive into the fascinating psychology behind that very deliberate silence. And that's really the big question we're exploring today. In a digital world that just seems to get louder and louder, a world that rewards shouting for attention, what's going on psychologically when someone chooses to just whisper? Turns out, it's a choice that says a whole lot about our inner world. So first up, let's talk about who these people are. Let's call them the silent observers. You know them. They're scrolling the feeds, they're taking it all in, but they stay completely invisible. And this isn't about being checked out. Actually, it's a totally different, and you could argue much deeper, form of engagement.
Now, what I find so interesting here is how this completely reframes what we think of as silence. It's not an empty space, it's a space of control. These are often the people who see things the most clearly, precisely because they're not caught up in the frantic need to participate. For them, silence is an active place for real thinking and understanding.
Okay, so it's super easy to just slap a label on non-posters, right? We call them shy or introverted, maybe even antisocial. But the psychological reality, oh, it's way more complex and honestly a lot more empowering than those simple assumptions. Let's really break this down because this chart is key. On the left, you've got the common assumptions. We think they're shy or introverted, but the reality is often a really high level of self-restraint. We might assume they're antisocial, but what we're actually seeing is emotional independence, and that's a world away from social isolation. And that last one, the idea that they don't care, it's the exact opposite. They often care so deeply that they refuse to reduce a meaningful experience to a quick post for digital applause. And all of this really points to a core mindset. People who don't post often have what psychologists call a strong internal locus of control. Basically, it means their sense of self-worth, their happiness, it comes from inside themselves. It's not dependent on likes or comments or shares. They just don't need that external validation to feel whole. And that emotional independence is crucial because it lets them completely sidestep what so many of us fall into, the performance trap. See, a lot of non-posters aren't rejecting connection. They're rejecting the exhausting performance that social media demands. It's their quiet way of walking off a stage they never really wanted to be on. And this brings us to this huge idea, identity performance. It's this thing we do, often without even realizing it, where we craft a specific version of ourselves for our online audience. Every single post, every story becomes a little audition for belonging. It's subtly asking, hey, do you approve of this version of me? For anyone, but especially professionals dealing with burnout or teenagers trying to figure out who they are, that constant pressure it's unsustainable. Now, driving this whole performance is a powerful little engine in our brains, the dopamine loop. You know how it works. You post something, you get a like, and bam, your brain gets a tiny hit of that feel-good chemical, dopamine. And because it feels good, you want more. It literally trains your brain to confuse that fleeting digital nod with real, genuine, intrinsic value. Resisting that isn't just a choice, it's a fight against your own brain chemistry. So what's the end result of all this? You get hit with this constant self-presentational pressure and eventually emotional burnout. You're not just living your life anymore, you're constantly curating it for an audience. For a lot of working professionals, it can feel like a draining second job on top of your actual career. It's a subtle but really profound shift where performing starts to replace actual living. So if constantly posting is a trap, then what's the alternative? Well, it's all about guarding your authentic self. The choice to not post is often a really powerful act of protecting the moments, the memories, and the experiences that are truly, deeply yours. And this gets to the heart of it, this concept of psychological ownership. Think about it. When you experience something beautiful, a sunset, a private joke, a personal breakthrough, that moment belongs completely to you. It's sacred, in a way. But the second you post it, that deep, personal feeling of ownership starts to fade. The memory isn't just yours anymore. It's kind of public property, and it gets subtly changed by everyone else's judgment. Non-posters intuitively protect that sanctity. This balance sheet just lays out the trade-off perfectly. On one side, in the pros column, you have what we think we're getting, digital connection, social validation. But look at the cons column. Those are the hidden costs, the pressure to perform, the emotional burnout, and that big one, the loss of ownership over your own life. More and more people are looking at this balance sheet and deciding, you know what, the price is just too high.
And the benefits of that digital silence? They're very real. You become so much more present in the actual moment, which, by the way, boosts your cognitive focus. Your offline relationships, the ones that don't need a post as proof they exist, they grow stronger. You find this incredible alignment or congruence between who you are on the inside and who you appear to be on the outside. And in doing that, you rediscover your own intrinsic self-worth, totally separate from anyone else's approval.
So when you put it all together, you realize this isn't about withdrawing from the world. It's actually a kind of quiet rebellion. In a culture that is obsessed with being seen, choosing to be unseen is a radical act of self-definition. It's a path to a whole different kind of freedom.
I absolutely love this metaphor. It's not a withdrawal, it's a homecoming. When you stop broadcasting every single thought, you finally start to hear your own voice again. It's like you're reconnecting with your own internal compass, with all the parts of yourself that got drowned out by the noise of social approval.
And here's the beautiful paradox in all of this. We chase what we call digital closeness, but then non-posters are often the ones cultivating something far deeper, real connection. The kind that is built on raw, unbroadcasted presence. It doesn't need proof. It's measured not in likes and comments, but in mutual understanding, in that comfortable shared silence. It just feels warmer, more substantial, and infinitely more real.
And if there's one core message to take away from all of this, it's this. Your real growth, your heartbreaks, your quiet little victories, those are the things that truly forge who you are, and they almost never make it onto the feed. Being unseen isn't about being insignificant. It's the space where your true identity is formed, not just performed for an audience.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. When was the last time you had a truly meaningful moment and just kept it, purely and entirely for yourself? Maybe in that quiet, personal space, we can all find the kind of freedom the silent observers have understood all along. Thanks so much for joining me.